Batman has lost everything to himself. Batman has lost everything to his own evil doppelganger. Zur-En-Arrh has managed to kidnap Batman, put him into a prison, and then take his place, claiming to be Bruce Wayne, but a robotic version that has seen the light, that will treat crime as it needs to be treated and handle it appropriately. Damian Wayne thinks that Bruce is in the robot's body, but Bruce has fled the city to come up with a new plan, a way to remove Zur-En-Arrh. This is Batman 147. Damian Wayne walks into the room, discovering his robotic father sitting in front of a holographic display. "Father, what are you doing?" Damian asks, and Zur-En-Arrh doesn't turn, explaining that he has turned every electronic device in Gotham City, and they allow him to hear everything. He then stands. "There's so much pain, so much anger, so much crime," Zur says as he overhears a murder plot. "It never ends, but luckily, neither will I," Zur-En-Arrh says as he stalks out of the room. Meanwhile, across town, Vandal Savage has been elected the new commissioner of the GCPD after he was freed from the prison. He stands proudly before the media, proclaiming that he will bring an end to crime in Gotham City, and that the vigilantes that are claiming that they are doing the right thing are over. Suddenly, someone charges forward in the crowd, a gun in hand. "Screw you! You killed my friends!" the man shouts, firing the weapon. But in a blur of motion, the bullet bounces off of Zur-En-Arrh's robotic Batman body. The shooter looks at the Dark Knight in fear. Oh God, he whispers, trying to run, but Zur-En-Arrh's tendrils reach out, snagging him, pulling him in close. "Jimmy Hughes, 4 priors for assault and weapons possession while working for Victor Fries. Last seen working for Catwoman," Zur-En-Arrh reports, turning back to Vandal Savage. "I should just put you in prison now, Savage," Zur growls, the new commissioner smiling. "Then why don't you? Would your superhero friends see you throwing the appointed police commissioner into your personal prison as the moment that you went too far?" Vandal Savage asks, and Zur-En-Arrh steps forward, his unblinking eyes glaring down at Vandal Savage as he expresses interest in watching him fail in the front of the public. "So they can see who you really are," Zur-En-Arrh says, glancing at the mayor. "Mayor Nakano, we'll be talking soon," Zur says before turning and flying away. Elsewhere, Amanda Waller watches the exchange on television, happy that Zur-En-Arrh is showing the world what can happen if the heroes go too far, though she is still unsure if the new robot is the real Zur-En-Arrh. "If he is, I know where to find him," Waller says before turning to her lieutenant and ordering him to put together a strike team. Meanwhile, far away from Gotham, Bruce Wayne is driving an old pickup truck through the night. He can't go anywhere that Zur-En-Arrh would suspect. Zur-En-Arrh lived in his mind. He knows everything that Bruce knows. He has to work outside of his normal plans and preparation. He finds himself at Happy Harbor, the old base of the Justice League and several other teams. Memories of old friends fill his mind as he moves through the shadows and the dust. He stops, sitting, gathering his thoughts, once again unsure if he can defeat Zur-En-Arrh, feeling old, broken. Back at the prison, Zur-En-Arrh watches a video of Bruce escaping and he looks at Capetillo. "He means nothing to me. He's broken, on the run, unable to turn to anyone for fear of what I'll do to them. Bruce Wayne is finished," Zur-En-Arrh says, and Capetillo smiles at the words, pointing out that Zur-En-Arrh is underestimating Bruce, just like Bruce has underestimated what every other villain has been able to do throughout the years. "I don't like what you're implying, Capetillo," Zur-En-Arrh points out, and he finally leaves. "Try to keep your prisoners in the prison, Daniel. I have someone trying to reach me," Zur-En-Arrh growls as he stalks out of the office. Back at the manor, a strike team is moving in, the exact calculations of Clock King moving them into position. One team moves through the darkness of the manor's halls, but a shift in the shadows moves behind them. "Who's there?" one of the soldiers gasps, swinging his light around. "A world of pain and you're trapped in it," Damian hisses as he leaps out of the shadows, attacking the soldiers, dodging gunfire and bringing them down. Back at their base, Waller listens as her soldiers report in. "It's not him! It's one of the kids!" the soldier screams, and Waller leans back in her chair as her eyes go wide. "If that's the case," she begins to state, as the window explodes inward and Zur-En-Arrh leaps through it, showering Waller and Clock King in glass. "You disappoint me, Waller. If Clock King is a part of your new Suicide Squad, the suicide part is extremely accurate." Zur-En-Arrh growls, and Waller motions for Clock King to leave the room, standing to brush herself off. I had to be sure. Your new look seems to be coming off with a new attitude, Zur-En-Arrh, she says, and Zur glares at her, ordering Waller to leave him alone, or he'll drag her back to Gotham and lock her away. We want the same thing, Zur-En-Arrh. Loose cannons get people killed. Your friends are going to come for you, and then you'll have to decide who exactly are the loose cannons, she tells him, and Zur-En-Arrh stares at her for a moment before leaping out the window and landing in the Batwing. You've been warned, Waller, he calls out before flying away. But nearby, Bruce has arrived at the old family cabin, a place his father built with his own hands, which holds some of the few happy memories of his childhood. He hopes that Zur-En-Arrh won't think to come here as he begins to unload the supplies that he took from Happy Harbor. Memories of coming here and training Tim fill his mind. Images of Tim learning to shoot a bow and arrow, unhappy that he wasn't perfect with it from the start. Inside, Bruce begins to unpack. He needs to get to work. Back in the cave, Damian joins the robot that he thinks is his father, who is still working on the holographic computer. Was Waller surprised? Damian asks, and Zur-En-Arrh shakes his head. Nothing surprises Waller, he says, standing, disconnecting himself from the computer and informing Damian that he needs to accelerate his plans for the world. What do you mean? Damian asks, unsure of what Zur-En-Arrh is planning. Zur-En-Arrh leads him into the next room, explaining that he needs an army to help him complete his work. In the next chamber, Damian is surprised to find a small army of Amazo robots, all dressed like the Justice League. But father, we can't trust Amazo. I'm uploading variations of Zur-En-Arrh from across the multiverse. I've collected them on my travels. With their aid, we will provide safety to not just Gotham, but the world, Zur-En-Arrh explains, and Damian thinks about this for a moment, not believing that Bruce would leave the multiverse Batmen brain dead in their own worlds. That would just leave Batmen's bodies throughout the multiverse with no one in them, or with Zur-En-Arrh. Damian gasps, realizing that this is a move that Bruce Wayne would never do. Zur-En-Arrh moves fast to dodge Damian's attack as the boy wonder realizes that the robot is not his father. You collected the Zur-En-Arrhs! Versions of yourself! The rest of the family were right! What did you do to my father? Damian demands, leaping at Zur-En-Arrh, but the robot's tendrils snake out, grabbing him. It's okay, son. I knew this was a possibility. In another world, maybe I could have trusted the others to do what's right. Total control is my only option, and I can't trust or control a Robin unless I make him myself. Zur-En-Arrh turns to a stasis tube as it opens, and Damian's eyes go wide as another version of him steps out. Back in the cabin, Bruce Wayne has begun his work, but he hears a noise outside. He grabs a batarang and steps out of the cabin only to find Tim Drake standing there. No one got your back? Tim asks with a smile. Bruce is shocked by his former sidekick and points out that Zur-En-Arrh could track him here. I know. He's infiltrated everything with some kind of a system called the Echo. I ditched my phone, Tim tells him, explaining that it took him a little bit to figure out that this is where Bruce would go. He reaches into his bag, pulling out some food. I also assumed you wouldn't be taking care of yourself, Tim says with a smile. Bruce pauses for a moment and smiles back, putting his arm around his son. Batman and Robin, Bruce says, and Tim nods. Batman and Robin. After dinner, Tim cleans up while Bruce explains everything. That he's figured out that all of his doubts and odd decisions to push away the family recently have been because of Zur-En-Arrh doubting him in his own mind. This caused Bruce to question his mission and his family, believing that they would just get hurt. Tim nods, but explains that all of them chose this life, that Bruce saved them all and trained them to be better. Bruce nods as he pulls out the suit and the weapons that he's been working on, his mind now clear. I can't do this alone. More importantly, I don't want to do this alone. Zur-En-Arrh never understood that you are all my strength. I need my family. It's time to put the monster down, Batman says as he turns around in his new battle suit, ready to go. And that concludes Batman 147, bringing us to the conclusion of the Zur-En-Arrh storyline very soon so we can jump into the Absolute Power event. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see what's going on as it's happening, and I'll let you know.